Hi, how you doing? And welcome to this strange little rectangular view you have into what is not the rabbit hole that is reality. That's right, this is not the rabbit hole, this is reality. This is an experiment to see what works, what doesn't work, to try some format ideas, to throw some random stuff in there and obviously to get your feedback. Now, of course, today is Boxing Day. It's December the 26th. It's 2015. And what we're going to be talking about, well, we've got quite a few things on the agenda today. I guess we're going to be talking about what's happened this week. Well, what has happened this week? Well, I guess it's Christmas, right? Yay! For some, no, who cares? So, I guess it's Yule for some others, it's solstice for other people. It's that strange Hanukkah celebration for others as well. So there's a lot of celebrations going on this kind of year. But of course, for many, the most important celebration, of course, is the launch of Star Wars Episode 7. For me, you know, I've got a bit of a love-lost relationship with Star Wars. I like Star Wars. I don't love Star Wars. I watch it, I enjoy it. I enjoy the spectacle that is, the Millennium Falcon doing all that shit. But I don't involve myself in the lore too much. I like the concept of, light and dark, the Jedi and the Sith. I like those kind of concepts. But I enjoy the show, I enjoy the films, and that's about it. I don't want to get involved with the nitty-gritty of what the shit's going on. It's quite good. But of course, the next big celebration, of course, of this year, of this time of the year, is the celebration of Yule, is the winter solstice, which is kind of the key oldest tradition to this time of year, and one of which I guess some people don't really know that much about. So I thought I would piece together some information and I would present it to you, and so you can be a more informed citizen, and you can go, now I know. So the origin, I guess, of the word Yule is suggested in many ways to come from the Norse word meaning Yol. Not quite sure what the initial pronunciation is. Hell, I've been criticised about my punctuation in the past, let alone my pronunciation. So we're going to go with Yol. It sounds quite similar. So it's a pagan festival celebrated the winter solstice, or the Anglo-Saxon for this festival here at this time of the year. It means Yule means wheel. In the old almanacs, Yule was represented by a symbol of the wheel. It conveyed the idea that is the wheel, the year is turning. The great wheel of the zodiac they're referring to, the great wheel of life. The spokes of the wheels were the festivals that crisscross, that happen at different times of the year, such as the solstice and the equinoxes. The winter solstice really is the story of the rebirth of the sun. It's an important day because it marks the moment where we have the shortest day, and then after that it's the progression of when the sun will overtake darkness eventually as we go towards the summer solstice. So it has a nice little story going on with it, which of course has been taken in by lots of different people and interpreted in many different ways. But the core story here, of course, is that of the shortest day, and on December 25th, the light starts to come back. The sun is reborn. So Yule is deeply rooted into the cycle of the year. It's the seed time of the year. It's the longest night. It's the shortest day. Many would say that it's when the Great Mother, the goddess, of which you want to name it as such, gives birth to the Sun King. So it's a very poetic sense of that word, and it represents the longest night, the darkest night of our souls. And here, after that, it's the spring of new spark and new hope, sacred fire, the light of the world, and to go forth from there. So what you have is a lot of fire festivals at this time of year, as it's of course celebrating the rebirth of the sun. They're found throughout the ancient world as well. So you have the Roman festival of Saturnalia, which is held again on the winter solstice on December 25th, where evergreen trees and bushes would decorate the house, which is of course what we still do today. Gifts are exchanged and normal business was suspended. Mithraists in Persia held December 25th with sacred as well, with the birth of their sun god Mithras, and the celebrations of victory over the light of the darkness in Sweden. In fact, December, of course, is held sacred by the goddess Lucina, the Shining One, in the celebration of the return of the light. And on Yule itself, on the 21st of December, bonfires were lit in honour of Odin and Thor. And the festival also is closely associated with the birth also of many pagan gods of age, such as Theseus, Perseus, Hercules, Jason, Dionysus, Apollo, Mithra, Horus, even Arthur, with a cycle of birth, death, and resurrection, and of course, Jesus Christ. So it's hardly a coincidence that many religions hold this time in veneration the way they do. But Yule, of course, at its core is a fire festival, which comes as no surprise, as they have a very more public outdoor festival during the summer months, of course, when the solstice is occurring, like its midsummer counterpart, which is all about the fertility and the continuation of life. And this people associate with being the opposite. You know, it's the death. Those who don't make it through the winter, those who should be venerated and celebrated, and to be well thought of with your family and friends, to be talked of. So here we have what effectively is a very personal time as well, I would think. So Yule plays an important time in the celebrations of the winter solstice and now Christmas. You have the story of the oak, the Yule log, which I always find quite interesting. My mum used to do this when I was a kid, not so much anymore, whereas fireplaces, of course, were taken out and replaced by gas fires and electric ones, what they have today. But the log was very significant, as that. So what would happen is you would take a large oak log, and it was ceremoniously brought into the house. It was kindled at dusk, using a brand of last year's Yule log, which you saved till this year. It was deemed essential that the log, once lit, should burn until it was deliberately extinguished. Although this varies, of course, from region to region and culture to culture, it was considered an ill omen if the fire burns itself out, and it should never be allowed to burn away completely, because some would be needed for the following year. In England, obviously where I come from, it's considered to be unlucky for the Yule log to actually be purchased, and it has to be acquired by other means, as long as no money exchanges hands. Often it is given as a gift by landowners, sometimes decorated in evergreens. In Cornwall, in fact, in the southwest of England, a figure of a man is sometimes chalked into the surface of the log, and I've seen this a couple of times. And I guess it's to invoke prosperity, love, life, those kind of things. And from the ashes of the Yule log were also then used for other purposes as well. They were used to make protective, healing, and fertilizing charms scattered over the fields, and too in Brittany, ashes are scattered into wells to purify the water. In Italy, they're used as charms. In parts of the Scottish Highland, it's quite an unusual one actually. They have they carve in a figure of an old woman, and it's carved into a tree stump. And at dusk, the figure is brought into the house and laid upon the burning peat of the house fire. And the family would gather around the hearth and watch the fire be consumed into ashes, and the rest of the evening was spent in games and merriment and chatting and talking. And the figure represented not fertility, but again, like we were talking about earlier, the evils of death and winter. And the figure had to be totally consumed if death and misfortune were to be avoided in the coming year. And one thing I used to quite like growing up, my mum made quite a big thing about mistletoe at Christmas. Not so much in the last 20 years or so. When I was growing up, she did. And you can kind of get you used to be able to get mistletoe from certain greengrocers. Generally, still quite pretty hard. But of course, it is still quite not an easy thing to get hold of. Although it is, in fact, it's a parasitic plant that grows on various trees, and particularly it grows on apple trees, and it's held in great veneration when it is found on oak trees. The winter solstice is sometimes called the Alban Arvan by some druids, and according to their bardic traditions, the time is when the chief druid would cut down the sacred mistletoe from the oak, and the mistletoe is cut using a golden sickle on the 6th day of the moon. It is often associated with thunder, and is used as protection against fire and lightning. In Scandinavia, Balder the Beautiful was killed with an arrow made of mistletoe, and wielded by the blind god Hoder. It's interesting to note that mistletoe is excluded from church decorations, probably due to its connotations and connections with druids and pagan and magical associations. But the ancient ban of mistletoe is still widely observed. But I can certainly remember growing up that kind of everyone used to do it. It's like an undercurrent of traditions that still existed from way back when to even today. So, do you celebrate Yule? Do you celebrate the solstice? Do you venerate the kind of experiences that ancient ones did at this time of year? Now, I do think as we have as diversity, as cultural acceptance and cultural separation happens, I think it's very important to hold on to what our traditions were and our beliefs were, as we're expected to learn those of others. And I also think that those others should also be learning about our traditions as well. But that's my opinion. So, if you want to hold on to yours, and do you even have traditions? Do you have family traditions, perhaps? Do you have things that perhaps only you or a certain number of your family and friends do at this time of year? What are your traditions? What are your beliefs? What are your actions as we are in this time of great darkness? So, looking back at my notes here as I am, I'm going, okay, so what's next? What's next? What do I talk about next? I guess that's destruction. Destruction. I guess that is an interesting word. Destruction, the breakup, the breakdown of things. And the reason I put that there in italics the way I did, I wanted to be reminded and remembered to talk to you guys all about. And look, you can see me probably smiling on camera now. You ever heard of something called Nibiru? You ever heard of something called Planet X? The belief, of course, that there's a planet that is like 1.5 times the size of Jupiter that's flying around our solar system and no one's ever seen it, and that it's here on a collision course. Well, you may remember this kind of coincided with the belief that there was going to be the end of the world or a transformation of some term at the December 2012. Well, some people believe that Nibiru was going to crash into the Earth yesterday. This also coincided with another, I guess, observation that was made, and I guess, unfortunately, people decide to link things together. So let's just separate those things, and let's get a bit of rationale and common sense applied before we start freaking out in paranormal, spooky, freaky ways. So let's just have a look here. I just searched. Where are we looking? Let's go to my browser. You can see my browser here. We're going to come to that video in a second. So, asteroid that could injure thousands to skim the Earth 2 days after discovery. This was December 19th. There's a view of mega asteroid so big that it could trigger earthquakes. Going to be hitting Christmas. Just a quick search for asteroid December 2015. We'll find loads of stories here, just on Google, of course, of all these massive impact scenarios that are going to happen this week on NBC, In the Sky, National Geographic, NASA, and space, of course, taking a more logical approach to that. And thankfully, look, there's no substance to multiple media reports that an asteroid is going to be passing by and is going to strike the Earth. Thank you, space. Thank you, NASA. Thank you, ESA. Because sometimes you've really got to deal with the crazy people. So look here, look, a huge asteroid could cause earthquakes and volcanoes to skim past the Earth today. That's on December 24th. Let's have a quick look at this. And do we have a missile defense system? Yeah, this is what led me to the ESA's website, because I really like what ESA do. They do a lot of great work, and perhaps they've always been stuck in the shadow of NASA. But our ESA videos, our European Space Agency, is doing a lot of great things when it comes to asteroids and comets. In fact, we've launched a mission just earlier this year, and it's closing in on its target. And I wanted to share it with you guys. And that is the Asteroid Impact Monitoring Mission. Let's have a quick look at what we're talking about here.
If an asteroid was ever headed our way, what could be done about it? ESA and NASA plan to test if a technique called kinetic impact would work to deflect it. The Asteroid Impact and Deflection Assessment Mission is made up of 2 spacecraft, the US-led Double Asteroid Redirection Test and the European-led Asteroid Impact Mission. Headed to the Double Asteroid Didymos system, ESA's AIM has 3 objectives: to see if asteroid deflection is feasible, to test deep space laser communication systems, and to perform scientific investigations on the asteroid system. AIM will be launched in October 2020 in order to rendezvous with Didymos in May 2022. AIM will be humanity's first probe to reach a binary system. The larger asteroid is orbited by a smaller one, known as Didymoon. Upon arriving, the spacecraft will take its first high-resolution pictures of the binary system. AIM will scan the smaller Didymoon closely with its visual imaging system, gathering information on its orbital dynamics as well as its physical characteristics. High-resolution surface mapping will chart the surface landscape and provide invaluable data for the targeting system of DART. The results will be beamed back to Earth by a high-bandwidth laser communication link. Engineers will try to push the limits of this instrument to work also as a laser altimeter and an infrared camera while operating in close proximity of Didymos. AIM's high-frequency radar will probe the first layers.
Oh, you know how awesome that is? You got people right now just talking about how how it's really still all about a flat Earth, or the worry that, well, these things aren't important. Yeah, we got asteroids flying in near Earth orbits all the time. We have comets whizzing by. What are we going to do about them when they come? Perhaps a little too close. The one, of course, that has just passed us just now, of course, didn't pose a threat. It obviously came between the distance between the Earth and the Moon, sure, but it did not pass through the worry barrier. So, and unfortunately, the media does run wild with these stories. Of course, they sell papers. The apocalypse is coming. Unfortunately, these stories do sell to those who wish to maintain that view that we are in control, that we have a fear. So I certainly feel that this year, this 2015, has been certainly the year of fear in the way that it's been promoted to us. Well, we should be worried about everything, and not just from the likes of Islamic State and Boko Haram and all the fear levels that we have, but also from our very own neighbours. And having people actually talk to our neighbours there, I guess even I don't really say hello to them. I don't really know them that well. And I guess really this is what we have to get back to, because the people we need to rely on are those around us. Should shit hit the fan. But we are perpetually driven into this fear state, this fear of panic, whether it be asteroids coming by, whether it be earthquakes and volcanoes, whether it be flash floods, whether it be the fear of Islamic terrorists destroying us in their way of life. We need to take logic. We need to take a bit of a rational view before we start panicking that the end of the world is here, because it justifies those who are demanding it coming, and those who constantly use the sell of the fear that the end is coming. We need to use our rationale to combat these people in the sense of just using logic and rational argument. Because heck, we all do crazy things when we're in panic mode. And the last thing we need to be thinking about is what we're using our mind. Because are we just following the masses? Are we doing exactly what whoever they are, want us to do? But enough of that, really. I guess that's the fear of asteroids is quite powerful, because of course they are things that are out of our control. But we, as humans this time, we as those who have technology, those who have the ability to go into space, we have the ability to look to the stars, we have such a powerful knowledge base right now that potentially we might be the first species in the entire universe to perhaps be able to alter the course of nature in that way, is that we might actually be able to avoid being destructed by the wheel of nature, by these asteroids that come by. We might actually be able to be the culture who does something about it, to continue our experience without being wiped out. And it's very important we do that. We are here, we have the ability to intervene, we have the ability to interrupt and disrupt it. In the greatest way, however, we just seem bound and determined to be our own destructors. And that makes me quite sad. It really does. But, I never want to rely on a bad moment. I like to be thinking of the future. I think there's some awesome stuff. I think there's some great stuff. So, I want to be talking about some pretty cool stuff that happened right now. But before I want to talk about some stupid stuff. Because, as you probably know, if you've ever been to the rabbit hole in reality, we like to talk about things that kind of bend the logic sense. And or we can talk about them, we can smile about them, or we can face smile about them. So that is what we're here. So I guess really there. So let's stay with the fear of ignorance and the lack of good knowledge, is in fact because there is a story of a lack of good knowledge and how it's going to damage a lot of people's lives. Let's just quick switch to my browser here. So yeah, you can see from IFL Science here, and the original news story there, the source-wise, is that during the Paris Climate Change Agreement, that obviously happened last week, there is widespread ignorance really about communication of good science. And that this ignorance would be more than a laughing matter, but however, it does represent a huge challenge. And the fact that our solar farm in the US was rejected over fears it literally could drain the sun. Can you believe the level of ignorance, I guess? I mean, solar panels do not suck up the rays of the sun. They do not suck up the photons of the sun. That's already been projected out anyway. Now we're just harnessing what is being pushed out. It doesn't drain the sun. Unfortunately, it's a town called Woodland in North Carolina. The council there rejected a proposal for the where they were going to build a solar farm by a vote of 3-1. Here it says here, council members approved the rejection. Now, fears of Jane Mann, a retired science teacher, that the vegetation in the area would have a lack of photosynthesis because all the light would be taken up by the solar panels instead of being heated in the ground. And disappointingly, she was not alone in her beliefs. That another resident had also said that the farm would suck up the sun's energy. Jeez, seriously, people, seriously. So these fears are irrational and not based on good knowledge and good science and good thoughts and good facts. But unfortunately, they perpetuate because we have a fear of science, I guess. Because most people won't choose to be. Do they choose to be ignorant? I think people do. They just choose not to be informed, or they just perhaps it's just never come across their way or their day as their life continues. They haven't come across this knowledge or don't seek it out actively. So unfortunately, it gets in the way. It bothers them. So let's stay with the older pollution concept and the idea that well, it's getting harder and harder to breathe, I think, as the song once said. So in China right now, they're having quite a bit of a problem. But if there was anything I perhaps myself wanted to capitalise on, literally using that term as capitalism, well, it's bottling air. I mean, I live in Nottingham. Heck, I could bottle Robin Hood air if I really wanted to, and that would be a genius. Breathe the air that Robin Hood once breathed, and you could sell it to China. Because they're having quite a problem over there right now, because Chinese pollution is so bad. There's a Canadian company called Vitality Air that is literally bottling their own air from the mountains and selling it to China, and selling an absolute fortune. And it's genius, but it's genius in the most horriblest of ways. As China's pollution problem increases, the Canadian company is cashing in the crisis by selling them fresh mountain air up to $28 each, as Beijing issued its first ever red level air due to its hazardous pollution levels, which caused the capital to shut down construction and schools also for a period of time. And since then, Shanghai has also hit its own smoke problem, and they're trying to ban outdoor activities and factory work. But battles of this Canadian Vitality Air have soared, literally, and basically their equivalent of eBay, called Taobao. They've sold out almost instantly. They had an initial run, a shipment of 500 bottles, and they're going to send 700 bottles because it works so well. And you have to love the marketing campaign for this. You really do. The campaign marketing says it's see, I do have a love of marketing lines. Okay, marketing lines are enhancing vitality, one breath at a time. It can help with hangovers, alertness, and even working out. Your solution to our pollution. Vitality Air is not only cashing in on China's restaurant problem, also there is a restaurant in a place I can't even begin to pronounce, Zhangjiagang, recently started charging patrons for fresh air after owners brought air filtration machines to the establishment, and they've started adding a surcharge to people's bills for that operation to happen. So if you want to breathe a little bit more in a restaurant and you're using a filter, it's going to charge you a little bit more. So one has to wonder then, should I start bagging up air from Nottingham to sell to the Chinese? Or if that is not a ready-made plan of just genius, I don't know what is. Breathe Robin Hood air now in Beijing. Fucking genius, mate. Genius. I'm up for that, definitely. I know, keeping the Robin Hood theme going, keeping the Nottingham theme going. As you know, the rabbit hole that is reality always ends on a story that is kind of funny, that's kind of funky, and is of the Fortean nature in its origin. Did you know, in fact, there was a miracle birth this week in Nottingham itself, in a place called White Post Farm, which is just literally down the road from here, in fact. And White Post Farm claims a miracle birth this week. It really does. It has made international headlines, where a virgin sheep apparently has given birth to two ewes. No, it's not. Why does it never let me do this? That's really frustrating. If you close the window, it doesn't like the window recording. Let's just quick add window capture. Yeah, do this. Refresh. Okay. There we are. Okay, so yeah, virgin sheep gives birth to twin lambs, and farmer hails it as a Christmas miracle. Because he's... let's just go down the story as it is. That's how it's read. It found itself to be in the Mirror. They gave it the biggest boost of its story. So the farmer believes he's witnessed a Christmas miracle after his virgin sheep gave birth to twin lambs, showing the sheep hadn't shown any signs of being mated with a ram. And a recent ultrasound scan gave no indication that she was pregnant. Staff at White Post Farm in Nottingham were stunned to discover two newborns when they arrived for work on December the 23rd. And Anthony Moore, the White Post Farm, says it is a Christmas miracle. Now, the way I understand this to be, why they are stating it's a miracle, is thus. So, what they decide to do is they will paint the underside of a male ram with crayon. Okay, they paint the underside of it with crayon underneath, around his groin area. So when that ram decides to mate with a sheep, they kind of know which one it is because, of course, there's a transfer of the crayon onto the sheep's rump, and that's how they know whether a sheep has been a ram has mated with what sheep. And because this female sheep didn't have any crayon on its buttocks, they decided that she's still a virgin. No one's ever said anything about virgin, really, in any of the stories and any of the tales. No one has actually said anything about the sort of being a virgin, just that it's not had sex, or that shows no signs of having sex. So I still think here we have a story of spotless love. Oh, terrible pun, Christian. But lambs are said to be healthy. Are they going to be named? Who knows what they're going to be named? But I guess they're going to go with the miracle story, aren't they? They're probably going to call them Joseph and Mary. They're probably going to call them Jesus and Joshua. Who knows? But it's not really quite the miracle, perhaps, that people claim that it is. But it is an interesting, fun story at this time of year anyway. Are we going to leave it there? What? Because there's a story that's in my mind that I think has to be shared. I don't... Yeah, let's do it. It's just too funny not to. Literally, as you know, you can take your kids to go see Santa. You know, at the end of the year, as you want to keep the kids happy, you want to help them to smile, as you want to do the shopping, because of course the kids and shopping are never a very good thing when you're out in town, and you don't want to spend as much money as you were going to. So you always go and see Santa. So obviously you pay like 5, 10, 15, 25 pounds, and of course then you put Santa on the kid on the Santa's knee. Like, oh, Santa, I want some presents, I want some of this, and the Santa's like an old guy and going, I've got no idea what the fuck you just said. No. You've been well behaved, you've been a good boy this year, you've been a bad girl this year. But no, Santa probably doesn't even answer that. Santa quite often more like these days in their political correct world is probably not even a guy. It's probably a girl. It's probably a black girl. Who knows? Just make sure it's not politically correct. You don't want to be promoting white values and white privilege when it comes to Santa. But getting completely and utterly off topic there, although relevant, is that you can now allow your cats, your dogs, to go see Santa. That's right, because of course this year saw the opening of the first pet grotto. I mean, Britain, of course, is known for fucking pampering its pooches and look after its cats, but this has literally taken it to brand new heights. And not content with keeping the kids happy this Christmas, indoor chill slope place called Chill Factor over in Manchester invited pets along to come on for a canine-friendly cave with tasty treats and a chance to try on some festive costumes. And lucky pups got to join the queue to meet Santa's very own Santa Port, who himself was a 3-year-old St. Bernard kitting out to dress like Santa. I just don't know how far down that rabbit hole we're actually going to get. I mean, how far are we going to get? I mean, seriously, that's just like, your cats can visit Santa's grotto too. Yeah, I don't know whether to facepalm or whether to look at the ingenuity and go, well, they made the money out of this. Why not? But is that really what it's all about? Actually, yeah, it is. Anyway, this is me, this is Christian Lando, this is not the rabbit hole, this is reality. I'm going to round this episode up here. Now we've covered some crazy stuff in terms of science, we've covered some space stuff, we've covered some reality stuff, we covered some... a miracle, if you want to call it that. And of course, cats and dogs can now visit Santa. So this has been the rabbit hole versus reality. This has been episode 2. Let us know your thoughts, let us know your feelings, let us know your Let us know anything. I don't care if you want to rant. Post in those comments below, and let us know what you think. This is me signing off, and I'll see you next time. Behind us, I have a nice big blue. I'm looking at the colour blue. I really am, and my brain just went blue. No, I got a red background behind me. I've got a blue screen in front of me. No, it's not the blue screen of death. No, it's just the background of a website I've got up at the moment. Okay, so the black. Oh, for fuck's sake.